Now I'm going to start cooking up some of this beef and read you a passage from Farley Mowat's book, but I wanted to let you know that you should really stick around, because you're going to find out if this is bulletproof. Not particularly the backpack, but 12 cans of bully beef. So stick around till after that bit. If you log off and sign off, you're like, this guy's talking too much, it's your loss. Hello from Canada, Smitty here. Today is November 11th, Remembrance Day in Canada, and I wanted to do a little shout out for that. Hence the poppy and some of the Canadian getup. I've been eating too many MREs lately. November 11th has always had a huge meaning to me personally. I've had family members that serve and are currently serving in both the Navy and Army. I had one great uncle in World War II that did serve with the Cape Breton Highlanders. He went over to Italy where he actually came back wounded in '45. I guess that's why this book has always had a special meaning to me. This book's written by Farley Mowat. It's called And No Bird Sang. It's one part of his war memoirs. I contribute most of my interest to World War II and military history because of this book, and I've read it just an absolute ton, as you can tell. I since have a new copy, but this one always is quite special to me. In Farley's book, he actually recounted serving the 14-man compo rat, or the composite ration. He had actually said that it was designed by some chairborne genius back in England, and he was not a very big fan of trying to partition out all the different components to his 32 to 36-man platoon back in the day. The compo rat's main purpose was actually to be issued when the field kitchens weren't in operation. You know, if you were in a fighting position, you wouldn't be able to get some of the fresh rations up to the line. You just moved into an area that hadn't constructed the field kitchens yet, that sort of thing. The compo rats were issued with 7 different menus, A through G. The main components that changed were mainly the meat products, the heated up ones. You know, they varied from I'm just going to read them off the list, there's way too many. Stewed lamb, salmon, oxtail and vegetables, pork and vegetables, steak and kidney pudding, the famous M&V, which is meat and vegetables, and in the case of Type F, bully beef, which is actually what we're going to be focusing on today. Now inside the compo rat, you also actually had a lot of different sundry items and various sides like instant tea, loose leaf tea, chocolate and boiled sweet, salt, margarine, soap, matches, 7 cigarettes per man per day, biscuits, cheese, and matches. In regards to Type F compo rat, the boys would get bully beef. That's a minced up corned beef product and some gelatin mixed together. It's a bit of an acquired taste for anyone that hasn't seen it. They're going to look at it and be like, no, not for me. It's very big in the Philippines and a couple different places. Malta, perhaps, is it's actually a national dish in Malta. This stuff was actually phased out in 2009, believe it or not. There's a particular passage in And No Bird Sang that I'll read to you while preparing bully beef, and it has a very special meaning for Farley Mowat and for bully beef in general. Today we'll heat up the bully beef with the Esbit stove. This is actually a German post-war stove, but it works out great. It uses solid tablets. Back in the day, rather than using a solid fuel stove, the boys would actually use what they considered a Benghazi burner or a sand stove. They would take a metal container, fill it partway with sand, pour petro in it, light it up, and the fumes from the gas coming off would actually be what they used to cook. Alternatively, they did have Tommy cookers, and they did have a stove that they would use for units wise, but yeah, solid fuel works out just great. Bully beef has a turn key. As long as you keep that key completely straight and doesn't veer off, you should be able to easily get through this can. Notice there wasn't a hiss. That's always a good sign on some brand new bully beef. You might be wondering why it's called bully beef. And that's actually derived from the French word for boiled beef, bœuf boulé, in my terrible pronunciation. It did become anglicized and became bully beef. Look at that nice, rich, gelatinous fat. So good. Isn't that great? Oh yeah. We'll let that sizzle away. It doesn't really burn very easily because of the amount of fat that's in this. I actually cooked a ton up on the barbecue the other day just to try it out, and it works like a hot dang. So Farley Mowat was actually a member of the Hastings and Prince Edward's Regiment, which is called the Hasty Peas. And in his book, we just joined him south of Campobasso, near Ferrazzano. The 48th Highlanders had just cleared a crag and driven the Germans away, and now the Hasty Peas are moving in. Farley went into the town to look for a likely headquarters and then met up with his friend Jerry Swale to examine the crumbling Castillo. on the town's walled northern outskirts, which looked as if it might be a suitable observation post. And I'll quote Farley Mowat now. Jerry had already dispersed his platoon by section to search the rest of the town, so the two of us were alone as we approached the castle. Playing the part of the veteran, I slouched along with the assuming sang-froid, but Jerry, being a new boy, insisted on an intent advance from doorway to doorway, with his Tommy gun at the ready, exactly as it had been taught in battle school. We were 10 or 15 yards from the castle's open gates when an engine unexpectedly roared. There was a clash of gears and an open car shot out of the inner courtyard, heading directly for us. I recognized it as being German and turned to run, but his occupant's reflexes were faster than mine. The passenger in the front seat raised the Schmeiser submachine gun and let fly a statico burst. I felt a thudding blow on my back, and the impact spun me around and flung me sprawling into its filthy open gutter, where I lay waiting for the next burst to finish me off. There was no second burst. Instead, Jerry's Tommy hammered thunderously. The car veered, screeching into a skid, and smashed sideways against a house front, where it teetered for a moment before rolling slowly over on its side to spill its two occupants onto the rain-washed cobbles, where they lay motionless. An instant later, Jerry was at my side, his hands on my shoulder and his owlish eyes staring anxiously into mine. "How bad is it, Squib?" "Don't know," I replied faintly. "Can't feel a thing." Gingerly he rolled me on my side and eased my small pack off my back. I still felt no pain, so with his gentle assistance I sat up. Still nothing. Slowly and incredulously it dawned on me that I was uninjured. Innumerable tales have been told in every nominal Christian army about men whose lives were saved because the Bibles they carried in their breast pockets stopped what otherwise would have been a fatal bullet. On this occasion my life was saved, initially at least, because I had stuffed my small pack with cans of bully beef, which I had intended to trade for tastier rations with the inhabitants of Frerzano, instead of which they had absorbed or deflected the Schmeiser bullets. For the rest, of course, I owed my continuing existence to Gary Swale. So that one passage stuck with me for quite a while, and I was always curious whether or not it was just his fast reflexes that might have saved his life, or if it was, in fact, the bully beef. Having stuffed this small pack full of bully beef cans, oh jeez, we're going to find out today if a pack of bully beef can stop what otherwise might have been a fatal Schmeiser bullet. Stick with me. And that's heated up all right. There's always some sketchy, weird looking stuff in this, and I think that's probably what drives most people away. Like, I don't know what that thing is, but we're just not going to eat that. Let's give her a shot. Cheers. That is so beefy and moist because of the fat in it. The next flavor that hits you is the incredible amount of salt. Like, it's corned. They use salt to make this product. It's gonna be salty. Anyone that said, "Oh my god, it's salty," yeah, it is what it is. But you mix this with something that might not have so much in here, like say you do potatoes, you know, some vegetables, something like that. This will actually season up really nicely. I actually like this stuff. Like, it's not amazing. It's got a weird mushy texture that most people like. It's shredded goo. Most people are not gonna like that. Couple it off with all the weird bits of schmoo. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate why Farley Mowat wanted to get rid of an entire backpack worth of these things.
You know what? I think I'm going to go save that and mix it in with some diced potatoes back home and make some corned beef hash.
Now, the Schmeiser that was in Farley Mowat's book is actually the MP40. This guy is in 9mm. Instead of the 30 rounds, this one only has 5 rounds and is semi-automatic, but it's still fun and Whew. So today what we'll do is we'll fire a couple rounds at the bag perfectly straight and then some at the side. I would hazard a guess that the 9mm bullets are just going to punch right through. They're the same grain, fired out of the same length barrel that would have back in 44. So I'm thinking a lot of what happened was that instead of striking straight on and stopping, they probably were more of a glancing blow and kind of went through the long way and just missed them. Made some good thuds, ruined some meat, but otherwise saved them.
Thankfully someone's already destroyed that bag, so I don't feel too bad about putting bullets through this one. There's 3 nice holes. Unfortunately, 3 holes in the back. Now to try sideways.
New cans, new attempt. There's some holes. Every single good can is something I actually have to eat, so I'm kinda hoping for good ones. There's a couple cans that are actually like these two right here, where the bullet did get deflected by that rim, but for the most part it went in, blew a huge hole, and then there, that can was heading on out. Wasn't stopping. Oh well. Well, I think in closing, I think I can rest pretty easy knowing that the 9mm can be deflected by tins of bully beef, but in terms of it being bullet stopping, you know, armor, I really just don't see that happening. These things are screaming out of there, and at 25 yards, yeah, there's just no stopping them. So they'll punch through those cans. The trajectory looks like it was pretty heavily affected by the cans. So in terms of Farley Mowat, I do believe him. I do think that some of these bullets might have entered his small pack and got deflected. If it was a direct hit, if it was going to hit him, it would have hit him. So thankfully he made it through the conflict, and you know, he went on to write many a best-selling book in Canadian literature, from Owls in the Family, The Dog That Wouldn't Be, The Boat That Wouldn't Float. I mean, it sounds kind of quaint, but you know, I really do like him as an author, even, you know, despite some of his later shortcomings. You know, if anything, on Monday, 11 o'clock, roll around, set an alarm, whatever you got to do, find some time to just reflect. I'm thankful for my great uncle John Lamb. I'm thankful for my grandfather who served in the Air Force. Thankful for my uncle who's in the Army, and then my cousin who's in the Navy. Thanks a lot, guys.